Hello, and welcome back to the Mystery Theory. Long time no see, and I feel like instead of jumping right back into regular scheduled videos, I had to sit here with you and catch up. I'm going to do this for those of you who've been with me from the beginning or for years at this point and have been messaging me or leaving comments with well wishes, and I felt like there's a fly that's driving me nuts, but let's see. Girl, she's in the ring light now, but I felt like I could do a little ramble, slow paced, and hopefully catch up and relax you. Now, I feel like in the last 4 years, I've been in and out of the channel, and that goes to show that my heart is always here. However, the last 4 years have been some of the hardest years, most challenging, trying years. And it isn't one specific thing, the why it's been like this, but it's more of a combination of things. You're gonna see the fly, and at this point, what are you gonna do about it? So let's start with that. I have a few bullet points, and we'll see how much I expand on those things. I have to say that even though the last 4 years have been really challenging, I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else but where I am right now. For those of you that don't know, I moved to Oregon initially by myself with my kids, 9 months later, my husband joined me. This was this fly is pissing me off. This was May 1st of 2020. For those of you that don't know, we bought a few acres, no house, no water, no city connection, no cell service, no power. There was a few acres of wooded land with a creek running through our property, and we brought this travel trailer, an RV that we owned, and we decided to start this adventure. We clear some land, put the trailer, the RV, in a mud pit. This was just mud and more mud and the pigsty. There's this one area we call the pigsty. Now it's part of my driveway, but I had every good intention to make it work for the rest of 2020 because of COVID. Our house never came. My husband jumped here, fell through, and we found ourselves with no debt. We owned everything. But no house and no immediate way of buying one. When you're trying to do things independently with cash, not rely on getting in debt, and when you live in a very rural community with less than 100 families. You realize it's gonna be way harder. So I made it work. I lived off grid for about a year and a half. I hauled my own water, to shower, drink, do dishes, etc., etc. My animals' water. We would use the creek to even wash clothes up until recently. And we figure systems of grid. But what happened is that I don't even know how to say this, but eventually we got power. And when we were ready to put a well, we found out that in this county there's one company, and he had a year and a half wait time before he could come and drill a well. So up until 2 months ago, I hold with these two arms the last 4 years. And don't resent it. I actually learned so much about some of the things I took for granted in the city. If you didn't know, we lived in Salt Lake City for 20 years, and I got very, very sick. Probably there's a video in my channel about what happened. My dog is trying to find a comfortable spot. But this is a long story, so I'm gonna make it short. I almost died in the hospital of an infection nobody knew how to fight. And I begged God and said, let me live. There's so much I want to do. I don't want to die. As I was signing my DNR papers. So after that, realizing that having everything I wanted, the house, the cars, the toys, I did not have time. My time was strictly dedicated to make money to pay for my lifestyle, and I owned nothing. And I realized that if I died at that point, I would have left my husband in a really tough position to continue to work and pay the bills by himself. If you want the whole story, my friends say that I need to write a book, because there was a time where my dogs went mute. The time where the mountain lion pretended to be a baby goat in the middle of the night, and I fell for it. I'm sure he didn't pretend that. It was the calling that I confused for a baby goat. I've had to bury animals, and that's gonna be another bullet point, but I just want to say that it's been a growing season for me, a maturing season, a facing my fears season, and I couldn't have done it anywhere else. It just got dark. It's 9:17. But up until 10 minutes ago, you could hear my neighbors, grandkids, and this community is like, I could go there and sit around the fire and have a beer with them and stay if I wanted. If I go knock on my other neighbor's house, he'll probably invite me in to watch a movie. And so on and so forth. I've made the most deepest connections with people. I've learned to rely on people when I'm just too tired to do it by myself. And it's been humbling. It's been a learning curve. But despite everything that had happened and continue to happen, stupid fly. I think if these things would have happened while we lived in the city, I would have lost my mind and probably wouldn't be sitting here telling you about these things. Because I don't know how I could have done it without this bunch of strangers that turned into my best friends that care not only for me but my family, and I care about them and their families, and it's just so humbling to be surrounded by people that not only like you but they love you. And I thought it was the kind of thing you find or get from family members. But I've learned since I moved here that I have no roots anywhere. And if I'm somewhere where I'm unhappy, I can pick up and go. I don't remember how much I've mentioned our car accident here on the channel, but right before Christmas 2022, I've had one of the best days of my life, and I decided to treat my family, to go get some groceries and go out to eat. And because of how remote we live, we have to travel for about an hour to get to a bigger town. And while we were there, we were T-boned on my side of the car by a homeless man who just bought this car and was on drugs. I don't know what happened. He said his brakes were not working. He was coming downhill. My husband saw it coming in the corner of his eye, and he hit the brake right on time to save my life. If this car would have hit my door a little bit more towards my side and not the very tip, I would have died on impact. My daughter was in the back. Hope, her dog, was in the back. And if you want a story time, I can tell you everything that happened, but let me know if you want to hear it. I'll do a separate video. But my daughter broke a couple of bones. Her liver was bleeding. Stayed in the hospital. My husband and I didn't break a bone, but we had bruises all over our body, especially around the chest, everywhere where the seatbelt put pressure. And not only that, but also around. It was like my entire chest, all this, like from my collarbone, my breast, everything, my stomach was all purple and red and like veins popping and so we spent 2023 trying to get better, in pain, sitting in the couch, watching TV, and not able to work nor move or do anything. So, for an entire year, we were basically homebound. And not able to work, which delayed getting the well, a pump, a septic, and all those things needed before we bought a house. I feel like the accident took a lot out of us. It took not only our jobs, but because we were not damaged enough, because we were able to still walk, and it wasn't a worst case scenario. We couldn't get benefits throughout that year, but we also couldn't work, so it was an entire year, well, until August of last year. From January till August, in pain every day, sitting on that couch, taking care of the farm, and really it set us back so much that I thought we're never gonna buy a house. We're never gonna have our own well nor septic. We spent 8 months in pain, and it was really, really hard. The impact that had in our family was just incredible. By December, my husband got better, and he took a job that takes him out of state for months sometimes. I started working in August of last year as a library director for our town. My husband got his job, but that meant he would spend the winter out of state, and I'd have to tend to our basic needs like going to dump stations, getting water every 2 days. Taking care of the farm, the pregnant goats having babies in the middle of the night. Still go to work every day and be a mom to my kids, who still had one in high school, other one in college, about an hour and a half away from us, picking her up on the weekends so she could come and spend time at home, taking her back to her dorm on Mondays. Needless to say, it was the longest winter. And even though I was thankful that we were both working after being not able for so long, living in the woods by yourself and having all those needs that need to be met every day was so hard. Oh, the spring came and I was eventually, by January, I started my role as the library director after the previous one retired in December. They had to learn how the system works. New county politics, federal employees, government employees, small town disagreements, and kind of trying to assimilate as much as I could. Then February came, and I have a small herd of goats that I keep for milk. We have our little dairy operation on top of everything else. And I've never done kidding season, baby season, by myself. It's always been my kids around, my husband. But this time I was by myself, and it was one of the hardest kidding seasons in the last 4 years. And I found myself crying myself to sleep at night because of questioning if I could have done something better. I can do a story time about that, but I've had to bury this is kind of weird, but I was never able to touch a dead animal. Or, it was one of those things that it was like a phobia or something. And when I found myself dealing with these things by myself, I had to be strong. And unfortunately, in 20-something kids, I helped deliver with my hands. Because I won't leave my girls alone while they're giving birth. Unfortunately, I had to bury 3. And 4, 2 stillborn, and 2 babies that died randomly a few days after they were born. So I had to touch those babies. I had to put them in their blankets, put them in a small shoebox, and dig a hole. It was some of the most challenging, sad, but something in that whole experience made me so much stronger and made me understand some things I clearly couldn't before. And it's sad, and yeah, I wish that nobody ever has to deal with that, but it's almost like I had to go through it by myself. I had to face what it was like when bad things happen, and I had to learn to control my emotions and do what needed to be done in order to save some, or put to rest the ones that didn't. In 4 years, this is the first kidding season where things did not go as planned. In some cases, some others were great. But I had to be elbow deep inside one of the moms because she decided to not dilate. Driving to the vet would have killed her. And I had to go inside and retrieve this dead baby. While I was bawling, just crying, because I did not want to do it. But the other option was to do it and to not do it and have her die. So when you're pushed in that direction, put in this situation, you kind of learn that you're it. So kidding season was not my favorite, and again, put into perspective a lot of things. I have to say that working at the library and being the library director, there's so many things that depend 100% on me, because we're a rural library, small library, and that means that a lot of the things need to get done. And not always we have the staff that can do it or the resources to do it. It is really a labor of love. I work a lot, but I love my job. So even if I do 40, 50 hours a week, 60, if we're too busy, I can honestly say that I don't feel like I'm working. Big part of my job is to care for our patrons, care about those kids, and I always say every kid needs a library. A library offers so many escapes, so many stories, so many worlds, that if I'm able to touch these kids' hearts and pique their interest in reading, it really helps them, in my opinion, to be a better, most, more, I should say, well-rounded individual in the future. I also am able to see what some of these kids need. Sometimes they are living in a less than ideal situation, and I can identify if they need snacks, if they don't have room at home to play, and then based on that come up with a program where they can receive all of what they're needing. This summer we've had our summer reading program where we had different activities like magic shows and the Under the Sea program with a museum and a puppet making show with people that come, and I've had the time to spend with the kids, make these puppets, look through a microscope and see how plankton looks like, and seeing these kids being interested in these things and consider me like, oh, look what I see, you have to see this, and I'm like, I do. Me, you want me to see it? Are you sure? It's been worth it. Like every second that I work from home, every moment that I'm working for any of these programs, and I go to bed at 3 in the morning and I wake up at 6, and everything is worth it when I can see the difference that it makes in these kids' lives. When I sit 3 times a month and talk to my patrons and friends, neighbors during our book club, and where we share what we like, what we've been reading, what we don't like. I learn how they're doing, if they're going to the doctor, if they need help, if their family's coming to visit. And it's such a rewarding job that even though I work too much, it makes a difference in our community, and that's all I want. What more can I ask for than my job be so meaningful that it makes a difference in my community? Now, before I end this video, I want to say that all the permits were approved at once for the building in our property. We finally got our water pump. I'm trying to remember how much it was, but I'm going to say that between power and just water, it was over $30,000 cash. And now we're doing our septic, and hopefully we'll receive our house in a few months. And I just cannot wait. So even though I told you all the struggles, they're kind of gone from my mind, because things are starting to fall into place. Because of all the things that happened, a big part of why I wasn't making videos was because of my mental health and, being a mom, responsible for your family, your husband not being home, the acreage that needs to be mowed, the animals that need to be fed, and all the other things. That with my husband, we work as a team. It was really hard, especially because my husband and I have been together first as best friends, then as little boyfriend and girlfriend, then as, a couple. But so that would be, let's see, let me do the math. It's gonna be, right now, it's been 27 years. Like, we known each other since I was 13, and we were just friends. So, we've been like this our entire lives. Never, and he is my best friend. I can say anything to him. He won't judge. He'll always support me and defend me, and it's hard when you don't have that after you had it your entire life, basically. And my mental health was not great. So I struggled a lot, and I felt like I was stretching myself so thin with work and keeping up with this place that I just could not put one more thing in my plate. But a month ago, I started a new plan to go back to exercising and eating clean and trying to do all these things for myself. And now that things are all falling into place, and it seems like we can see it, the end is near. But the end goal of having a house finally after 4 years. So I feel like now I can breathe and say, my gosh, it was a crazy ride, but I've survived. Big part of why we moved here where we live. We're in Oregon State, but we're in this Oregon State. I said that funny, like Washington State, the state of Oregon. We live near the coast, and I wanted to move here because nature heals my soul. Nature is the only thing that is like a medicine. It's like a drug for me. When I'm having a bad day, I had a really bad day, last Saturday. My body was aching. I was not doing great, and I had to go to the store, and I told my daughter, we will go to the store, but we're also going to the beach. And she looked at me and said, what? It wasn't even that hot or anything. If you know, the Oregon coast is beautiful, but sometimes windy. And I said, I need to go to the beach. And we went to the beach. We walked. I put my toes in the sand, and I could feel the sand in between them. And I got in the water, and the ocean water touched my feet, and I started breathing again. All my worries went away. It's like a pill that takes away everything. We walked from one side to the beach to the other. We got wet. We laughed. We were not ready for the beach. We were both wearing shoes, my daughter and I. And, but oh my gosh, it was exactly what I needed. Some other time I was really struggling with some news I got a couple weeks ago, and grabbed my boys and said, we're going for a hike. And we did this hike that I've been wanting to do, this trail. But I've never wanted to do it because it's like about 2 miles uphill. And then it's a mile, like really kind of steep down. And I didn't think I could do it with my asthma and the way I was feeling. And I said to the boys, we're doing it. And when I can't breathe, I'm going to stop for a minute, catch my breath, and then keep going. And that's exactly what I did. And when I got to the top of the mountain, really, and I could see all those Douglas fir trees, like the tips were just at a point where I could see it. I could see the tips of the Douglas fir trees that had been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. I stood there on the top of the mountain and I looked down and I was like, this is exactly what I needed. It was later in the afternoon, and in the forest it gets dark very quickly. So we hurried our way down 1 mile, and we still had to walk about 1.5 miles more to get to our cars, and we had lots of people driving, waving at us, and it was exactly what I needed. And if I'm having a bad day, I take my shoes off and go to our creek, put my feet in the sun, get it wet, and it grounds me. It makes me feel so much better. I always say that nature to me is like a drug. Tomorrow we have a booth in our county fair, and so I'm gonna try to edit this video now, which I'm not going to edit. I'm just gonna put the audio connected to the video and go to bed. Tomorrow it's going to be a fun day talking to people about books, giving away books, seeing community members, and it's just such a fun day at the fair. I also want to say before I go that I'm going to continue to upload what I can, which means right now it's probably going to be the next video a book haul. I'm going to do a lot of book videos because my new obsession is reading, and I read a lot. I like to talk about books, and I find relaxing ASMR videos to talk about books. I will still share true crime, but I hope that my soft spoken or whisper, it's enough for you to come back regardless of the theme of the video. My back making weird noises when I move. Thank you for being here. As always, I hope that you can leave a comment down below. You can share something with me, do a smiley face, or put down a smiley face, because if you smile at me right now, I won't see you. And I want to know if you'd still be around if I am introducing other content to the channel. At the end of the day, I have to remind myself this is a hobby, and I am very true to myself. And if books is what interests me right now, my hobby right now, it only makes sense that I stay true to what I enjoy and not try to push myself to do something if I'm not inspired to do it. So that way I can continue to upload. So thanks again for being here today. I truly appreciate it. The next video will be whispered, and I hope you join me. I will be sharing with you all these beautiful places I've mentioned in this video. I'll show you my favorite spot to read by the river, my favorite beach, and the book that I took and read at the beach. My thoughts on some of the popular books that I didn't care for, or the ones that I loved, and maybe not everyone else did. I'll show you around a property. I'll put a background for the river, all the vlogs. I hope you stick around. Thanks for the patience. I'll talk to you guys next time.